Some of us have lost our mothers. Some of us are mothers and have lost our child. But we do so many wonderful, wonderful things. And we have so much to be grateful for. And I want to take this moment and just be grateful for all the mothers and wish you a happy, happy Mother's Day. And remember, every day is really a Mother's Day because the mothers do so much for you guys out there, for the world. And without further ado, I want to bring on Zena and Chris Krogedal, who are an amazing husband and wife team. Zena is a mother, and Zena lost her mother. And I know this brings up all sort of things during this special time, and I want to just touch on that before we dive in and give a shout out to you, because I know it's what, a year and a half since you lost your mother?
Almost 2 years now, yeah.
This will be really great if I do this without being able to hear you.
Oh. Yeah.
Let's see. You talk a minute about your mother.
Yeah.
And
well, my mother, I guess what I will tell you, my mother was quite a woman because, you know, looking back and thinking about all the things that had happened in her life. She grew up in Vietnam, and it was not. And can you hear me?
Can you speak there, my darling?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Nope, that didn't work. Well, tell us a story about how your family brought you over from Vietnam and you came and got started here in the United States of America.
Okay, here we go.
And I will try to figure out how to hear you.
Okay,
great.
I will go back to the beginning. So basically, my mother grew up in Vietnam, and life was not easy like it has been for me here in the United States. But my mother and father met each other in their early 20s. And basically, by the time I was born, my father had already served in the Vietnamese Army, the Army Republic of Vietnam, the ARVN, and was medically discharged for that. And he ended up with a job with the American government. So he was the chauffeur for an officer. And so when the fall of Saigon happened, we were able to leave. So I was born a year before the fall of Saigon. And so basically what had happened, my dad showed up to work one day. Can you hear me now?
No.
Okay, good. Yay. So
that was fun.
Yeah, you know, sometimes there's technical things going on. It makes it more adventurous.
I want to hear your story.
Yeah. So one day my dad showed up to work and his boss said, Yin, go home and get your family and get back to the embassy. Your plane leaves tonight. So he didn't have much notice, and he said he was trying to go around and find as many people as he could to bring them back to the embassy because it was the fall of Saigon. We were leaving. I know. So my mom didn't get a whole lot of notice. My dad showed up and basically said, we got to get going. So they didn't, even pack their bags or anything, just got me. I was just a baby, just a year old. And we got on that C-130 on April 24th at midnight. And my mom said we didn't know where we were going, packed in like sardines, and ended up going to Guam. We were in Guam for, I think, a week. And then we ended up going to the United States in Camp Pendleton. So my dad said all he had was $10 in his pocket from when they had to fuel in Hawaii. So his boss gave him $10. And so all he had was the clothes on his back, his wife, his daughter, $10 in his pocket, and basically just new hopes and dreams. So hi, Eric. So good to see you.
Hey, Eric.
And the Music Factory. That's so funny.
No. She can sing. I shouldn't have said that, but she actually can sing well.
She does everything. She is just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So needless to say, my mom was in her I think I want to say she was about 28, and my dad was about 29 when they came to the United States. My mom didn't really speak English. My dad spoke a little bit because he had worked with the U.S. Embassy and you know and interacted with Americans. But my mom didn't know any English really at that time. So really big kudos to her that even at her age, she ended up learning how to speak English. We ended up in Flagstaff, which is a hippie town where most of my friends' parents protested the war. So that was kind of really interesting. Not a whole lot of Vietnamese families in that area. And so really we were forced to acclimate, you know, pretty quickly because it wasn't a Vietnamese community. You know, my mom had to learn to interact with people, you know, at the grocery store and wherever she went. So she picked up she's picked up English. Her best friends were Hispanic and English was their second language. So it was a lot of fun as a little kid listening to all of them talk at the table. And they loved playing cards. So they all would play cards like, I don't know, once a week or whatever. They'd all get together, play cards, blackjack, 31, whatever, poker. And they would sit there and I think they attempted to say cuss words, but none of them could say it correctly. So I'm not really sure that it counts. But but it was like I said, I have to give a lot of kudos to my mom because she was forced into a situation that she, you know, didn't choose to be in. And she adapted by learning English. And although she was very difficult to understand, had a very thick accent, I didn't realize until I was much older how much courage that took for her to do, because she had friends, still have friends to this day that don't speak English because they ended up in a Vietnamese community and they didn't really have to. You know what I mean? Because you can imagine learning another language in your late 20s, early 30s is no easy feat. You know, learning a language anytime, but especially as you're older. And so anyway, she definitely sacrificed a lot. She was a stay-at-home mom. And even though there was a lot going on in her life, and I won't get into too much, but she definitely had a lot of trauma, a lot of things going on. It's interesting. I didn't appreciate her nearly as much while she was alive as now that she's gone, which is kind of an interesting dynamic. You know, I think sometimes we just take for granted when they're here. And when you start to kind of look back on the memories and stuff, you start to realize the things that occurred that you didn't even realize, because growing up and having some relationship, you know, having the struggles of being an American kid, because I was an all-American kid, grew up here, wanted to be like all the other American kids, but my parents were very traditional Vietnamese. So there was a struggle there. So I thought they were just being unfair and, you know, like most teenagers, but probably extra because of the different in the cultures, you know. But as I grew older and had my own children, I started to realize, well, no wonder my mom didn't let me spend the night at anybody's house. I mean, really, most of my friends' parents were protesting the war. She didn't speak that good of English to give up the authority to somebody else and to be able to communicate with them my needs. So, you know, I can understand, you know, how can you let your daughter stay at somebody's house that you can't even communicate that well with? And because I hesitated having my daughter stay at people's house, and I speak English. So anyway, that appreciation came much later. So that's my mom in a nutshell. And thanks, Cynthia, for letting me tell the story.
It's a beautiful story, and it makes you realize how resilient women are.
Yes.
Some more resilient than others, but we always find a way, don't we?
Somehow we do.
It's really good to have a good partner. And Chris, I'm really excited about you two, because marriages are so hard. And if you want to raise good children, you need a solid marriage to do so. And you are doing something really exciting, doing your marriage counseling, or your marriage retreats, I should say. And
Yes.
this is a relatively new thing, because I know you've come so far in your marriage doing all sorts of things. And even the story you just told, I can't even imagine the melding of the cultures and all the different ideas that may have not communicated well. Tell everyone a little bit about your retreats and what you do and how they can get involved, because that's pretty exciting. I think a lot of marriages that are dissolving so quickly now might have lasted longer if they did this, or actually even start before you get married.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. So it's Partners to Powerhouse. That's what
Partners
we
to
named
Power.
it. Partners to Powerhouse.
And it's actually marriage coaching, and we will have retreats in there, but we'll also have events, but marriage coaching. And it's going to be a ongoing, basically place for married couples, entrepreneurs to come together. And yes, we want to absolutely help. But just to go ahead, honey, just to clarify, it's not just a retreat.
We're a team, so whichever one of us talks, we help each other out. So.
And Zena is certainly a powerhouse. I admire her energy and her zest for life. It is fabulous. Chris, we didn't ask you about your mother.
Well, she's alive and well, which I'm thankful for. And she has been instrumental in my life. I wasn't even thinking about talking about her, but I certainly don't mind doing that at all. Real quick. She couldn't have her own children. So she adopted me at birth. So something that I don't think people normally think about when you don't have an adoption in your life. But an adoption is where there's a choice. The parents decide to choose or not choose that child. And so with an intentional choice that my mom and my dad, they chose me as a little baby. Now, I had to be the cutest. I've seen pictures. I was the cutest little baby. So,
All babies are cute.
Right.
They came from God. They're a gift.
Yes, absolutely. So I was raised as an only child, and my mom has been instrumental in my life and very committed to me, and to the point where I was spoiled. I was a spoiled only child, for sure. So.
Zena, so you have a spoiled husband. That must be fun too.
It's a lot of fun.
Before we move on back to the retreat section, are you seeing your mother for Mother's Day? Does she live close to you?
She lives in another state. She lives a few states away from us, so no, not this year.
Okay, you send a card, flowers, or you'll talk to her. Have a Zoom call and say, "Hey, Mom, I love you. Moms need to hear that." So look at that, another aspect of being a mother. The mother that didn't have wonderful Chris and the mother who did. Wow. Blessings to all. Blessings to all. So go back to I know you had a mastermind recently that was free for couples.
Yeah, go ahead, babe.
So we are launching a mastermind, and yes, we have had some webinars for couples, and we're just have been doing some soft launches. And we will be getting a podcast going called Partners to Powerhouse here and start to be more consistent with that. But yes, we will have a membership for powerhouse couples or those that want to go from being partners and really impacting the world as powerhouses. And so the intent is absolutely to not only navigate the challenges that marriages can have, like you talked about, even just the differences, even if you didn't have two different cultures coming in, just coming from two backgrounds and meshing that together is challenging. But then if you add running a business, whether it's both of you or one of you, when you add an entrepreneur into the equation, it's a whole different mindset. And so trying to figure that all out can be a real challenge too. And sometimes the business can suffer or not get to its maximum potential when a couple isn't in alignment with each other or don't really know how to navigate through the differences or the challenges or get onto one page or, to go through all that. And so many times couples...
Or also the family can suffer.
That's true.
Ultimately, the marriage, like you stated in the beginning, Cynthia, if a marriage is not a strong, healthy, united marriage, then the children will suffer from that as well. The family will suffer from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little background about us too, Cynthia. Not only are we entrepreneurs and we're real estate agents and
I skipped that whole part.
Yeah, that's okay. So we definitely know what it's like to be around each other and run a business together and, trying to stay, communicate and stay on the same page and that sort of thing. And some days are easier than others and other days can be extra challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But just a little background as to even how our marriage began. I was really blessed that this spoiled only child decided to marry me, because I actually came from a failed marriage. By the time I was 26 years old, my marriage to my high school sweetheart failed. And I can tell you that was really devastating, because I felt like the ultimate loser, because I felt like my father and my mother didn't leave their country for me to have failed at something so important. And so if you could imagine just fighting through all of that mental despair, and being a single mom. I had 2 children by that time, and end up meeting Chris, and I guess the rest is history. He decided to take on that whole feat. So he was an instant father. Not only was he a husband, but an instant father.
Well, this is one of the places that I don't think to this day we have really are in total agreement. One of the very few things, because I had a different perspective. I was getting a beautiful woman and 2 bonuses with it that you don't usually get.
Love
right?
that.
These
Love
adorable
that.
little kids that didn't have a father really, and I could be an instant father as well. I mean, what a great deal, so to speak. Although I wouldn't call it a great deal. That's not enough to describe it. But I felt like I was really blessed, and that I didn't deserve what I was getting.
So here's something funny. So right before we got married, he had just gone into law enforcement. So we were actually moving about, I don't know, 20 miles away. So basically further away. And then I wouldn't be able to have the same babysitter as I had, because she was my next door neighbor. So anyways, my mother-in-law to be at that time said, "Hi, Patricia. Oh, so much love to you." So my mother-in-law to be at the time said to me, "You know what? Are you sure you want to marry my son? You're gonna have to give up so much. Like, you're gonna have to move. You have to find a new babysitter and all that." And I looked at her. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "A babysitter is gonna be much easier to find than a husband who wants to take on me with 2 children, and he has a job. He doesn't smoke. He flosses his teeth. He's well groomed. I mean,
Important, yes.
he loves Jesus. I mean, all of those things you just don't find every day."
Amazing, absolutely amazing. That gives you even more breadth for your retreats and your masterminds to talk about it, because you are certainly gone through a lot of this.
Yeah.
Father's Day's coming up. It's in June, so you'll get your shout out too.
Oh, yeah.
Zena is an amazing powerhouse, and Chris, you are so wonderful to be there to support her and help her. She is an author, a speaker, a podcaster. Everything she does is with zeal and zest. I've had the honor of meeting you several times, and she's got the kindest heart. They both are willing to help. They step out, they care, and they come through a wealth of wisdom, because they are out there seeing other people's masterminds, speaking on other people's platforms, getting to know all the who's who in the industry, and spreading their word. They're also real estate agents in Preston, Arizona. She has a real estate license. So almost whatever you need for your family, she can give you a home, a lesson, a mission, a step-by-step how-to. You can be a podcaster. You can be a writer. Zena, what else do you do?
Well,
She's a really good dental hygienist. Is what she
well,
used to be.
oh my God.
But washing your teeth was an extra bonus. Woman, do you hear that? Please
Right.
wash your teeth.
Right.
Mother, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I definitely could not do all of that without an amazing husband, for sure, because he honestly is the secret weapon. If you want to know the truth, he is the secret weapon. Some really hip and happening people. But Eric, you're so funny. Thank you. I'm not sure if our kids would agree with that, hip and happening.
Yeah, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Thank you.
But yes, absolutely, Chris is the secret weapon because he is just definitely my partner. You know, even though you probably see me more because I'm much more, as you can tell, extroverted, right? not nearly as shy as he is. He's definitely, I wouldn't say shy like a wallflower, but he's definitely come out of his shell over the years because he just, being a real estate agent, you learn to really interact with people and network. But he's amazing because he does, Cynthia, he does most of the cooking, he does most of the cleaning, he does the laundry, his own laundry, he irons. I mean, he does all those things, so it frees me up to be able to do the things that you listed. So, and not only that, but he also runs the real estate business, and he's also doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So he is definitely, even though you don't see his face a lot, he's definitely, like I said, the secret weapon. So
We own him.
But it's not like this isn't the best way to do it, right? Because her face is way better than mine to be out there.
Oh no, you're both powerful. Absolutely. Yin and the yang. You need both to be balanced in this world.
Yeah, but you are right in that two are better than one.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's definitely been an adventure for sure. And you're right when you talked about meshing the differences, because when we first got married, he was suddenly exposed to the Vietnamese culture, which is a very different culture than what he was used to. Different kinds of foods too. And I'll tell you what, you want to talk about mother-in-laws. My mother loved him. I mean, what's there not to love? Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story here. So I grew up in a very traditional Vietnamese family. So we don't really verbalize love and affection very well. That's not something that comes easy or natural for a lot of families. So I didn't hear "I love you" growing up. I didn't get a lot of that kind of affection. Like the way of they show love is through gifts and doing things for you. Like that's how they show you love. But as far as vocalizing it,
it's love language culturally.
yes. Yeah. So I didn't even know my mother knew the words "I love you" until one day we were leaving, and we said our goodbyes, and my husband grew up in a very affectionate family. So he gives her a hug, and he says, "Ning, I love you." And my mother says, "I love you too." And my jaw dropped. What? I didn't even know that you knew those words. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
How eye-opening. What a moment.
Yes, what a moment. And and over time now, my dad, he texts "I love you," that a lot now. But like I said, it's evolved. But in the beginning, when we were growing up, that's just not what you do. And it wasn't just my family. I mean, literally, we'd go visit the other Vietnamese families, and that just wasn't part of the culture, I guess. So so I thought that was normal, so to speak, until I went to my friends' homes. I'm like, yeah, my parents never say that. That's kind of odd. And that's kind of awkward to even hug my parents because we just didn't do that, But anyway, yes. So my mother said "I love you" for the first time, and it was to my husband. So
well, it's a good place to start. And Chris, what a wonderful education you had learning the Vietnamese culture and food and people and customs.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. If anybody out there doesn't know, they have an amazing culture that I can't imagine anyone not wanting, when they're introduced to it, not wanting to just indulge in it, because the food is incredible. The culture is very hospitable. I mean, very welcoming, very inviting. The people giving is huge. So you don't see that as much in a lot of other cultures.
yeah, no. And I would joke around a lot. Especially when it came to weddings, that if you had to cut somebody out of your wedding numbers, that you do not cut out the Asian people, because the Asian people are going to be the ones to deliver the goods, so to speak. Like so I was joking around with my sister when she got married and her husband. So, because they were, there was a limit. It was like 150 people, and and of course it's expensive, so you have to limit, right? And so I made that comment. I was like, well, if you have to drop anybody, don't drop the Asian side. Invite mom's friends. Even if she doesn't know them that well, you need to invite them, because they're going to be the ones to give you quite a bit of money, for your wedding. Like, they don't go off of registries. They don't do any of that. And so her husband kind of looked at me and kind of like, really? That's weird. Well, after the wedding, he said to us, oh my gosh, you were right, because we were opening up our gifts, and literally there were people who just put them in envelopes. They didn't even label anything. They just put it in like a regular letter envelope, and they stuffed hundreds of dollars in there. And there were some people who gave anywhere from $100 to $500, as gifts. And so they ended up with a pretty good gift. And so anyways, I was just like, I said, I told you, I said, they are very generous when they come to weddings. It's not $20 gift items or $50 gift items off of the registry. Like, they are going to generously give a lot of money, because that's the love language. That's their way of.
Now, this is bonus material to Partners in Powerhouse right here. But it is a fact that when you're looking at the guests to invite to your wedding, that if you invite certain people, like maybe Asian people, for instance, that you're probably going to get a lot more money and gifts.
Although maybe we should clarify, maybe it's more traditional Asians. I don't know about the American Asians that have lived here for a long time.
Yeah.
Who are, because culturally it's just different.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
It shows how much value they place on the merit.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is
very much so.
And that is very cultural.
Yeah, very much so. Because have you ever been to like an Asian wedding?
As a matter of fact, I have one coming up on April 28th.
Yeah, they're
June 28th. June
28th. Okay.
Yes. I'm very excited, and now I know I won't get a gift. I'll give cash. Thank you for the insight. I was wondering how to be appropriate in that area. So thank you.
Yeah, and it was
a tip there.
Yeah. Well, but even when we got married, that was an issue, because my mother-in-law really wanted us to have a gift registry. And because I wasn't brought up with a gift registry, and that wasn't how we gave, I'm like, what do we need a gift registry for? I've been married before. You've been a bachelor. In fact, we're trying to get rid of stuff. So why would we do a registry?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need another toaster. I don't need,
We had two of almost everything.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It was just different. I was like, really, what we could use is money.
Yeah.
But it was hard for her, because she's like, I can't tell the relatives to just give you money. That's just not as thoughtful. It's more thoughtful to go out and get you a gift. So that's like, that was just that different way. And so that was our first exposure to like, wow, this is a real big cultural difference. Like, one way, like I said, neither one of them are wrong ways of doing things. It's just different, right? It's just a different way. But when you don't have that other perspective, or you weren't exposed to it, it definitely can be a place of like, what? That's strange. That's our tendency, right? So
that's why it's so important to get out in the world and travel and, know the United States, know the world. Have you both gone to Vietnam?
No, not yet, but we want to.
No, we have an unplanned trip that's in our minds that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, as Zena would say, put it on paper and put it on a plan.
We just need to figure it out and get it done.
Yeah. We definitely want to, and I definitely want to go with at least maybe one of my cousins or someone who definitely knows the area. Because to be honest, I want to go visit my relatives and people I'm related to, but I won't really know where they live or who exactly they are. Kind of thing. So I definitely want to make that trip sometime soon. So that is definitely on the things to do. And then we want to spend at least a month there is what we decided. So
yeah.
Perfect. Yes. And you have such busy lives, to organize that will take a feat, but you can do it.
Yes.
We can be worldwide, and you can probably pick up more global clients while you're there.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll call it a business trip.
And new family members. Do you speak Vietnamese?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Yes. And do you speak Spanish?
Me, I speak a little bit of Spanish, a very little bit of Vietnamese.
Oh, multicultural. I love it. 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 So tell us a little bit about your real estate part now.
Well, we
Or do you sell globally, or do you just sell in Arizona, or?
well we for the most part it's in Arizona, and most of it is in the Prescott area of Arizona. If you're not familiar, Prescott is
I've been there.
yeah for
Don't
the
tell
last.
other people in case they don't know.
Okay, I was going to say for the last probably almost 2 decades, Prescott's been listed as one of the top retirement places in the country. So we're a big retirement community, but it's a beautiful place. We have mild temperatures and all that, so it's a great place to work real estate. A lot of fun. There's a lot of spectacular view places, that we get to introduce people from out of town to, that they purchase and whatnot. And so we have a really good time helping mostly retired people, although the way the market has gone, the huge influx of retired people now has created the need for much more businesses, much more retail, much more of everything, of shopping, of restaurants, of services. So we're helping a lot of families in this economy. Has been kind of difficult, but it's very rewarding when we can work really hard and help families that feel a need in the community. So that's in a nutshell, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we've been doing commercial real estate as well. We got into that a few years ago, had the opportunity. And so not only are we doing residential, that's where most of our expertise experience is at. But commercial, we actually really enjoy commercial quite a bit. And really in the future, we want to do more in the commercial realm and even in the business brokering avenue as well, because that's honestly a lot of fun. That's a lot of number crunching. That's a lot of, and so I guess for the nerd in me, I really enjoy that challenge and looking at the numbers and, seeing if it works for an investor or, somebody, because it's just a different animal. And so it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's rewarding in a much different way than bringing a family, let's say, into a house versus bringing a business into a space, or buying a property and they build their building for that business. That adds to the community, and we feel like we kind of were a part of that, because we were, and it's very rewarding and builds great relationships, and it's fulfilling for sure.
But not to say that, we enjoy the bringing we enjoy people just living the American dream. So we enjoy helping people to achieve that. So whether it's home ownership or they're upsizing or downsizing or whatever it is, we just really enjoy that, or bringing a new business into the area or increasing their investing portfolio. So yeah, that's definitely, been the fun part. And he went into real estate first. So it's actually his fault that he brought me in. And then he created a monster.
Excellent. I love it. How do you balance doing your real estate when I know that you attend and speak at so many different platforms now? So I saw you both recently in Dallas, Texas in January. How do you keep everything going? Well,
we have a good team that supports us and is there when we can't be there. So that's how we keep the service to our clients up to the standard of excellence that we always work to and strive to do. And then the technology these days, we can do so much work on the phone and on the internet, even on airplanes and things like that. So there's just so much ability that we didn't used to have. What else would you add to that?
Yeah, and really and that is something new for us, Cynthia, because for quite some time there, we didn't go out and do those things. You know, I mean, we were staying in our area and doing our own thing, but it was after my mom passed away that we both just kind of realized that life is really short, and really the days are truly numbered. And even when you make it to an older age, it passes so fast. And so we both decided, well, we know that there's more that God wants us to do. What is it? You know, and how do we go and impact the world beyond our city, beyond the community that we're in? And so just with prayer and then with steps of faith, we ended up going to all these different conferences, which is where we met you as well, different masterminds and that sort of thing. And it just, one thing led to another. And yes, doors started opening. We started becoming speakers. And it's just, you know, it's exciting and scary all at the same time. And it's a new adventure. So learning to balance that is certainly definitely where we are learning. Okay, we can't go to everything because everything sounds exciting. You know, you see all these events come up and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds so awesome. I want to go there. And then you're like, oh, maybe I really can't because really we got to do this or that. So now we just have to really learn to prioritize, pick and choose. You know, we might not be able to make it to every event with certain people, and maybe we can only do this at a certain time and then do another. But you know, that's kind of part of the fun and adventure. I feel like we're just on a fun adventure season of our life right now because our kids are grown. They're both young adults now. Our daughter's married. And so, and like I said before, when we got married, it was an instant family. So we didn't have that time where it was just the two of us. Now we do. So it's almost like, I feel like it's almost like we're teenagers again. Okay, let's reinvent ourselves. What do we really want to do now?
It feels like new beginnings of the journey that we're on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Living the American.
Yes, living the American dream for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so we're excited to see where it all takes us, Cynthia, for sure.
Mm-hmm. You don't happen to have that picture of the three of us in Washington, D.C.
I sent it to the messenger. Let me see if I can get it onto my computer screen and see if I can share it. That might work.
During the American Dream, Chris and Zena were in Washington, D.C. for another conference. We got to hang out together and have a beautiful meal at Old Ebbitt Grill, which is one of my favorite restaurants in D.C. And we just have so many wonderful things to offer in Washington, D.C. and in Preston, Arizona, and in Dallas, Texas. Why you send that over to Eric? Maybe Eric can put up some of our Dallas pictures, because you are not only learning from what you're doing, but look at this. We have some powerhouses here. This was a mastermind in Dallas, Texas. You can see, I think Chris took this picture. There's Dr. Wagner and Ken Walls, and Zena and me, and Jill Walls, and is that Patricia in the middle? Or is that
that's Bonnie Parsons and Kimberly Stevens.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And here is Victoria. So we are bringing in. She lives in she was living in Switzerland. I think she's in her home country right now, visiting her mother. And you are interviewing different people, so you're getting new insights. Like I'm getting new insights into the Vietnamese culture and the Asian culture, and an appropriate wedding gift for the new marriage. And you pick up from interviewing these people. It's almost like being with Miss Victoria, and she plays the piano. So I hear you sing, Zena.
Yes, I do sing. We actually both. I don't know why he threw me under the bus, but he actually sings too.
Well, anybody can sing. I said she sings well.
That's wonderful. I don't know if you can hear my dog Bolt. He's trying to sing too.
Oh.
And then you met Patricia in person there too.
Say that. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then Chris was taking this picture, and you had an amazing, amazing time with Patricia Gadjuk. Oh, sorry, Patty. And she's gone through a lot, losing her daughter recently, and we just reach our heart out around her. Remember the wonderful times we had meeting there. Thank you, Eric. But I'm just, oh, there we are. That's Old Ebbitt Grill, Washington, D.C., that Zena and Chris came to. And it was so fun to show them around in my little city. And there is so much to do when you come back. There they are. History, culture, people. It is just amazing how you can form relationships and grow and grow and learn new things to do and new things to be, and open your eyes, because that's how you help the world. I know you're big into gratitude, Zena. Talk a little bit about what you do, because you do so many things with, oh my goodness, the veterans, for example.
Yeah, actually, we're both very involved with the veterans. So when we were in Washington, which we will be heading out here again pretty soon, is we go to Capitol Hill with the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. And what we do is we advocate for our veterans so that they can have sustainable home ownership using the VA loan. And so we have, as an organization, we help to make the changes on the VA loan so that it helps the veterans utilize it. It helps them to be able to access it better than it has in the past. Because unfortunately, the VA loan had a really bad reputation for quite some time. So a lot of them wouldn't use it, or the real estate agents or the real estate professionals, lenders, and all that would discourage clients from using it because it had this bad reputation. But the reality is that there's been so many changes in the last decade that really have made the VA loan such an very attractive loan. In fact, probably the best loan for a veteran if they qualify for it to utilize. So it's exciting.
Well, yet to this day, it's greatly underutilized by veterans for the lack of knowledge, and maybe knowledge of real estate professionals as well. So the VA Rep organization not only goes to Washington, although that is our biggest impact typically that we can do, is to help make the VA loan better. But all throughout the year, we put on education and other events to educate the real estate professionals so that they will advise the veterans so that they do get their benefit of the home loan guarantee that they've earned, that you could say they deserve. In which we think is really quite a travesty that they don't get it when they so commonly don't.
Yeah.
So that's the fight that we fight.
Yeah, and it's been a real honor, because it's certainly for me personally, it's my way of giving thanks to the veterans, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the veterans going to fight in Vietnam. I mean, all that when I talked about, my friends' parents, protesting the war and all that, while I was growing up in the war zone, but yet Americans came over and fought for my freedom. And the Vietnam War, many of them were not volunteers, they were drafted. So they were men and women who were drafted to come and fight for my freedom, and they sacrificed so much. So everybody gave something. Some of them gave more than others. Some of them gave the ultimate sacrifice, which is death, and didn't even come home. But many came home with a lot of wounds and a lot of things that no one should ever have to witness, because it was a terrible, terrible time. And so for me, I know freedom came at a cost. And I know sometimes that can sound very cliche, like, oh, yeah, freedom came at a cost, whatever. But truly, freedom came at a cost for me, because there were men and women who fought for my freedom, didn't even know me. And yet today I get to be here and live the American dream because of that sacrifice. I get to be married to this handsome fella right here because of the sacrifice that were made. And it's my way of saying thank you. Honestly, we spend so much time with volunteering with that organization, but it is an incredible organization. So any of you that have a VA rep in your area, absolutely support VA Rep, because we are doing some amazing things for the veterans. But yeah, that is definitely one of our passions together. So
there's one more thing, if I can add to that I don't think is very well known, that should be, that even though the U.S. did leave Vietnam, and the communists basically did take over, where the Americans had left, and took over the whole country, and it was under that kind of a regime for so long, even up to this day, although things have gotten much better in a lot of ways. What a lot of people don't realize, though, is they estimate about 120,000 people, and maybe more than that, of Vietnamese people were able to escape and leave Vietnam like her family did. So any soldier, any family, anybody that thinks that maybe we didn't make any kind of an impact over there, it's not true. Granted, I wish we would have made a bigger impact, but we did make a good impact, or our country did, because she is one example of that. And there's many people that gained their freedom through the sacrifice that our soldiers and our country made.
Yeah, I mean, it was freedom regardless. Maybe it wasn't the ideal freedom, because freedom in the homeland was probably really what my ancestors, my people that wanted. But freedom came regardless, whether it was what the original intent was. But freedom came, and so I so appreciate it so much. And so so I don't take this life for granted at all. I have so much gratitude for those that go and sacrifice. And Eric, who's on here, thank you so much for your sacrifice, because it doesn't matter when you served, or what era you served in, or even if you were in combat or non-combat. Everyone who has served in the armed forces, there is a sacrifice. And anybody who's a first responder, public servants, there is a huge sacrifice that is made to keep us all safe here. And we really should not take our freedom for granted, because you and I here, Cynthia, being able to have this and not worry about, our safety all the time is a real blessing that we that sometimes we take for granted. I know I take that for granted sometimes. I go my day-to-day life, and sometimes it just doesn't even cross my mind until I sit and think about it, like, wow, we really do live in a blessed country that I didn't have to worry about that. My parents did growing up. It was always chaos after chaos for them. But because of because of the sacrifices that were made, I got to experience a different life.
That's beautiful. I'm also from a military family. I'm from an Air Force family. And the unsung mothers and fathers who stay behind or help move and set up everywhere you move to, like, there's unbelievable work behind the scenes too. Anytime you see an officer or a gentleman, salute them, thank them. As Eric B. Flanoy just put up there, freedom ain't free.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so grateful. But right on, freedom ain't free. I think I could read that. Did I get it?
Yeah. Freedom isn't free. Yeah. And that's very, very true. Very true. Yeah.
It is very true.
And you're right, Cynthia. I mean, growing up in a military home, you know the sacrifices that were made. You didn't always, get to see the person you wanted to see all the time. They were gone for weeks, months at a time, and you didn't know if they were coming home, or if they're coming home the same person. There's a lot of that too.
And there's a lot of moving. So when they open up your geography book and said you're moving here, and you pack up and go, and you lose all your friends many times, because it's 2 or 3 years a spent. So
yeah,
there are many sacrifices by many women everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Just resonating on that, and all the wonderful mothers and our leaders of our countries. And would you want to read that one from Eric?
Yeah, sure. He said, yes, we all sacrificed. There were a lot of things we most, I'm not sure what he meant there, out on. I had to rally around several shipmates when their engagements, relationships broke up, or a family passed on. So many things I've lost and haven't recovered while I was active, but it's made me the man, and in some ways still becoming.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful, Eric.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So beautiful. And you meet so many different souls in so many different walks of life. We'll have Eric on the show so he can tell us more about that the next time. But meanwhile, we're down in foundations here. We need to have good parents to raise the children. How do you suggest that people start as a couple?
Actually, I think a better example is our daughter and her husband, how they
Okay.
did it. We've made all kinds of mistakes, and we're just thankful that we were able to overcome them, and all the help that we received to do so. But I can tell you, our daughter and son-in-law, they met in college out of state, and they put up boundaries for each other just to protect their chastity. Maybe that's an old word to use, but you know what I'm talking about. And they sought good, sound counseling and premarital counseling. They even let me do one session, which was good because I shouldn't be their main counselor, being the father, you know. And so they did a great job of taking counsel and applying it. And they've been married now for, what is it,
almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're just so proud of them, and we're so thankful for them. So that I think what you draw out of that would be that, as we know, Cynthia, I know you'd agree with us, is that everybody has a coach. That is a very valuable thing to take on a coach. Everybody, even the coach himself, has a coach or should, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they did really well, and what we all should do. And then, of course, we have to do what the coach says. We have to use the wisdom that we receive and apply it, and that can be the hardest part.
Yeah, and I would say that is definitely, if going back on many levels, whether it be personal or professional, certainly getting a mentor into your life, a coach, or whatever you want to call this person, somebody who's really going to help you level up or avoid the potholes or pitfalls and that sort of thing. That the wise thing is to make sure that you truly get people in your life that can really pour into you, that can really help you along and help you basically shave off years of mistakes and really focus on the relationship and really focus on bringing out the beautiful parts of the relationship, because it is a real challenge. You got two different people coming together as one. We have different ideas, we have different goals, we have different dreams that we come together with. And the thing is, do we have to really die to those dreams, or do we just become dreamers together? And those are the questions that each couple has to come and ask. And something, Cynthia, I think you were on this call with us when Glenn Morshower talked about the marriage being like a one-legged sack.
I was just going to bring that up. Our friend, the actor. This is a wonderful story. Please.
Yeah. So
working together.
Potato sack, but it was one-legged sack race. And if you remember, and this may be, I don't know if the kids do it today, but basically it's this brown burlap sack, and you put one leg in. Each person puts a leg in, so you got two people, and you're trying to get to the finish line as fast as you can. Well, you're going to have to find your groove as fast as you can so that you can make it to the finish line. Because if you got one person going in the opposite direction or going too fast or too slow, you're going to be injured, fall over, collapse, whatever. And I love what he said, is that marriage is about really adjusting your speed so that you're going at the same direction at the same time. And really, that is the key. Is we need to have mentors, coaches, and people in our lives to help us to see, okay, what is that speed? What is that direction? And how do we get into the groove together? And how do we sync up so that we can get to that finish line or get to the goals that we're setting? And it was a beautiful visual. And so I will always remember that for sure. But that is definitely, I would say, for those that are entering marriage or thinking about marriage, or those who have been in marriage and are like, I still don't feel like we're in sync, get a coach. And that is what Partners to Powerhouse is all about. The vision is to help coach people along, because we have certainly, had to go through a lot. We've had to go through counseling. We've had to put the work in, but it's been worth it, because we get to reap the benefits of having a relationship that is so deep and intimate. If we would have quit at year 2, we wouldn't have been able to experience what year 20 looks like. And I'm excited to see what year 30 and 40 and 50 and hopefully even 60 if we get to be here that long. But I know that it will always constantly be evolving, and our relationship will always constantly be changing because we are constantly growing and changing ourselves, right? So we're always having to adjust. So even when you think, oh yeah, we've got it, well, one person is growing and changing, got different goals now, we're shifting. And so it's a constant thing, but it's fun. And it's a good adventure if you let it be a good adventure. But there's definitely tough times, like, you've mentioned, when you lose a child. We haven't had to go through that, but I know when you have devastating things happen, that can throw a kink into the plans of life. And it's not even just a kink, but it puts a hole in your heart. And there are many things, not even just a death of a child, but any death in the family or anything that's hard or a trial, things that we don't expect, right? There's just unexpected things that happen in life. And so learning to pick up the pieces together, is key. And many times we need the help, an outside help to help us to work through those things. And there's no shame in it. I think we've come to a place in our culture, in our life, that I feel like people are embracing getting help easier than we used to. Because I feel like in the past, it was harder for people to ask for help. Oh no, I can't talk about the things that are going on in my marriage because I don't want people to know, or I feel ashamed that this is happening because it shouldn't be happening. But I think if we can just have that vulnerability with each other. Yes. Thank you, Patricia. Love you to pieces, my sister, for sure.
Yes, we do.
It's just, life is an interesting adventure, and it can be a roller coaster. There are thrills, and then there's
the day of the life.
It is.
And forgiving and moving forward and getting rid of the old baggage, as Glenn Morshower says, that's old.
I'm new. Goodbye.
Here we are.
Yeah.
That's old. I'm new. Goodbye. And you look in the direction and you let it go and you go forward, and it takes a little work sometimes.
Yeah.
On the same page like you two seem to be, and constantly reviewing your dance.
Constantly. It's like we also do the analogy. It's like a dance. When you watch two dancers together and they've rehearsed for a long time, they make it look so easy, right? And it's so graceful, and everybody wants to watch, like, so inspiring that they can do all these things. But we've taken dance lessons, Cynthia, and it's a lot of fun.
Woohoo!
You know how many mistakes we make along the way before we can get it to the place where people are like, oh, that looks like a nice dance. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of mistakes, a lot of stepping on each other's toes, a lot of, hey, I thought I was leading. Why are you trying to take the lead, or whatever it is? Why are you going this direction? And it's just, life is just a beautiful dance. But we have to be able to, after we fall or collapse or step on each other's toes, you're right, we have to be able to be quick to forgive and to let the past go, and let's move forward. Let's just keep practicing. Let's just keep moving forward, and it's gonna get easier. We're going to know how to do those steps, better if we practice.
Yeah, and that's why communication is key, because there's no relationship immune from having disagreements and not seeing things the same way, and things like that, and becoming offended and saying things that you wish you could take back, and things like that. It's going to happen at some point. But if you have open communication, and both people have that sometimes emotions have to die down, but they will in time. And then people can, if they open up and they communicate with each other and they share their heart, and realize that we do have the same goals. We are in alignment, even if we feel like we're not in the moment, but we really are. And we go back to those things, and especially if we really listen and understand and become more understanding of the other person and where they're at. So that's key.
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. Eric's going to put up your website, so if you want to reach out to Zena and Chris, they work in tangent. Here it is. It's a
Aw.
very well done website. I love your new intro to your podcast, which you have often. I see that you revamped it and have new messages. So go check out Zena's website and get her in there. She's got a free download that you're welcome to get and learn more about the world. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We love this dance of life. If you don't have the lows, you don't have the highs, and everything teaches us to be our best self. Be your best self, make good choices, and practice. That's old. I'm new. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Thank you, Cynthia.